that doesn't have any experience, it's not going to help you. Go find somebody that has had some success at doing what you do. That's what we're here for. We're helping people pay for speed. We're taking the things we've learned through our experience. I picked up one or two things over the last 40 years of personal development. Well, why should somebody have to wait 40 years to learn it if I can say, hey, in this area, I can tell you a few things here. If you get 2 or 3 nuggets, that's worth the price of admission. I think we just lost Andrea.
Looks like we did.
But that's what it's all about. We're here to give people those nuggets. We've sifted through a lot of ore to find the gold, to find the diamonds. We've broken the geodes up. If you ever look at a diamond geode in its natural state, you'd never know it was a diamond. It just looks like a clump of rock. But once you chip all that stuff away and you polish it up a little bit, it's a little bit shiny. And then, of course, De Beers has a monopoly, so they run the prices up. That's why anybody that buys diamonds has to go to Antwerp, because the De Beers principals can't step foot on the United States, or they'll be arrested for racketeering on RICO charges.
Faye and I met a little bit earlier, and one of the questions that came up for us was on our course that we're developing. Should we be planning on a time frame? Is it going to be like each week is only 30 minutes, or, because we were talking about our own course that we took. It seemed like the information that they provided us was short and sweet, but then we had homework to do. So I wasn't quite.
That's the format I envision.
Yes.
Look,
So,
if you're paying me 10 grand to come talk to me and us to get information, then the idea is that you're already self-motivated. We're just there to give you the tools and answer any questions you may have to fill in the gaps that you are having while you're progressing on that journey, right?
okay, so in your mind, we should be talking or providing information maybe for how long? 30 minutes, 20 minutes?
My understanding is we were going to meet twice a week, once at the beginning of the week for an hour to give the assignment, to talk to them about the principles, give them the assignment, and then meet with them at the end of the week to go back over what they did in the assignment, get some questions from them, help them resolve some challenges that they were dealing with in that particular situation, and then move on to the next week.
Okay, so I'm glad you've clarified that a little bit, because I was assuming we were doing a course just like what we did in ours.
Look, I'm going to be pedantic here, and I'm going to jump on the train with Andrea on this one. We got to be careful about our vocabulary. We are developing a program, not a course.
The program. Okay. The
right?
program. Yes.
And I don't mean to be an ass about it. I
agree.
Instill good habits, okay?
Right.
And so
keywords and tricky phrases.
Yeah. And so what I would say is when you think about Mastermind Academy, for example, right? How do you recollect the way that actually unfolded? Right? That's kind of how I see the program, unless someone's got,
that's how we talked about kind of mimicking that, because that seemed to work for all of us. It seemed to be good.
And so that, let me then, Sean, say what you said again, because when we were discussing it, we were trying to figure out, of all the information that we have for the week that we're responsible for, how much of it is talking to create versus trying to keep everybody consistent, I guess, is what our question.
Your actual in front of camera time will be 2 hours, presumably, right? Because that first hour that you meet, and you guys can divide it up any way you want. If it's 15 minutes for Sue, and then 15 for Faye, and 15 for the third person, that's fine. That's going to be for you all to decide how you do it. But you're going to have about an hour window in there, right?
In the program itself.
In the program itself. Now, I also imagine that there's going to be some kind of member hub, meaning we're going to set up a Facebook group of some kind, or there'll be some place where everyone can collect and meet up and pass along information to each other. And so that would be another avenue for answering those kind of questions. But in terms of what you all are doing, Like right now, go with the mindset of, hey, that first hour is to teach a principle, story teach tool, right? And to give an assignment. And then the second follow-up hour is going to be to give some additional insights if you have it, but mostly to follow up what we did with that first week, that first hour, to make sure that they are actually doing their assignments and helping them to overcome whatever challenges that they're dealing with as they resolve whatever that issue is. So for example, what was the subject you guys were talking about? What's the topic, the weekly topic that you and Faye were meeting about?
Well, we had two different ones, but let's talk about obstacles, week 7.
All right. And so that first hour, right, would be, okay, hey, listen, let's talk about overcoming some obstacles and challenges. Okay, now you may have a huge swath of information you can pull from to use in that hour, but I would recommend, use whatever the most powerful tools are that you have in that hour. We can talk about like what are some obstacles and challenges, what are ways to overcome them, and what your favorite tool to overcome them, which is this. And that's what you're going to present in that hour. And that's the tool that you're going to want the clients to use throughout the week. And then when you come back later in the week, hey, let's take a look at what you guys did in your homework there, or whatever the case may be. Like Randall never checked our homework in that context. They were doing their own thing. So it kind of depends, right? It kind of depends on how you want it to run. And, there needs to be some continuity with all of our weeks. So this is a good conversation to have. That's why I was asking about the deliverables earlier about, do we want to make sure that every week, does everybody at least get a minimum of one worksheet? Right.
We talked about a worksheet yesterday.
Yeah, no, I'm
That's the same thing, right? Yes.
Right. A worksheet, hey, and at the end of the week assessment, like at the end of the second hour, you can say, hey, and here's a quick little 10 question, 10 little, and by the way, you don't have to create these. We're going to go in,
Right.
We're going to go into ChatGPT and I'm going to show you how to create all these things. You're going to go in and put in a prompt. Hey, create a 10 question and multiple choice quiz that reaffirms that or that goes over all the things in our last week that we just talked about, and we can copy and paste that stuff in there. So don't get too bogged down on those details. We can hammer that out. All right. But
yeah, so I think that's a really good point. So like for the giving, you guys were working on the giving back. I saw that. At some point you could just say, well, we really want some sort of activity around how to find your favorite way to give back, how to find the way to give back that's going to be the most effective for you. Like if you don't have that, but you want it, that's okay. Like just write it down, and someone, you can go into Chad or Bart or whatever, or one of us, like whoever's graphic designer or whatever might be able to help with that, or whoever's content might be able to help with that. Like just have an idea of what you're looking for, right? Like, and then if you get stuck at that point, someone else can help you if need be. But yeah, and I do think it's effective to have at least one activity
right.
for each thing, because as we all know, just in listening to someone talk, you learn a little bit. When you actually do something, you learn a lot. And then when you actually teach it to someone else, you learn the most. So, at this point, they're not going to be teaching it to someone else in our course, but they may be teaching it to their husband or their wife or their children or whatever. But what we can do for them is the first time we can teach them, and then we can do some sort of activity to kind of reinforce that. I mean, that reinforces what you learn.
Yeah.
So, but the activity doesn't necessarily have to be a worksheet. Like it could be a live meditation. We talked about doing a meditation in the health group, but just something that engages them enough that they go a little deeper with the learning rather than just listening. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I'll even put on my andragogical hat here, right, and jump into the world of adult learning. What it's called in that world is called task-based activities. And so when you're designing your lesson plan or you're thinking about what you want your clients to do that week, it's the task that's important. And that task could be a worksheet. It could be doing the meditation. It could be going for a 5-mile walk. It could be going to get your blood work done. The task, as long as it supports whatever your main objective is. Now, and here's the beauty of this. If you want, what we can do, we can either split up into groups, but another thing we can do is, like, Sue, you put all that stuff into the giving topic, giving a topic in our chat.
Yeah.
We can use, I can actually use that and take it into Chat GPT to create the lesson plan. And I can walk you through that. Maybe that might not be a bad idea right now because
Let me rephrase that, you guys. When Faye and I were talking, Faye gave it to me, but she couldn't put it in there. So the one that's for week 7 is really Faye's information. The ones on week 9 was my information, just to.
that's very humble of you. That's very humble of you. But with that being said, the point, right? Yeah, the point I want to get is I want to show what I think we can do right now, which might be useful since we're all here, is since this is how we've been operating, people have been putting these ideas in. Let's take one of those ideas you put into the chat and let me show you how to take that into AI, either Bard or Chat GPT, and build that lesson plan. Right. And I'll show you the order, because the first thing you want to, like, all that stuff in there is great. The first thing you have to ask yourself is, what is the objective for our student? Right? What's the target we want them to hit? Because everything else is going to be designed and based off of that. Once you have the objective, then we can do the lesson plan. Okay. And then once you have the lesson plan, we can create a worksheet to support that lesson plan. We can create a quiz to support that lesson plan. We can create a task-based activity to support that lesson plan. There's lots of different things you can do with that. So if you want, we can take that, like it's 11:30 now, I can stop the recording and start it back up. And then what I'll do is I'll actually put that up on YouTube. And what I'll do is I'll actually copy the link of that video and I'll put it in each of your individual chats. Okay. So that way there's no confusion. If you're like, where the hell is it? Oh, just let me look where where's my chat with Sean? And because then that way you can go back and you can review it. Okay. Because this process here's the rub. What we need to get good at now is the process. Because if we walk through the process every time, you're going to get different results in terms of what you're going to get in content from AI or Chat GPT, or you may want to input your own personal influence on it. But we want to leverage the machines. Let's take advantage of the AI. They'll do 80% of this work for us. The whole idea here is impact and income, but we want time freedom as well. And that's part of this, right? Because I don't know about you, but if you're like me in any way, then you all have a ton of other shit going on as well because of life. Right. So, yeah. So why don't we we can probably do this in 30-35 minutes and then you guys can have this. And when what I would suggest is the next time y'all meet up in your group, hey, let's go revisit this video and let's take some of these ideas here and let's see if we can do this. Because once you have that stuff, you're going to give that to me or Andrea, and we're going to take that and put that into Canva and start creating pretty worksheets and cool.
If you haven't already. Right.
Right.
I mean, if you want to create your own worksheet, but I think in one instance, try your own, that's totally fine too. But don't feel like you have to do everything. That was the whole point of us having a team, right? So, but we need to know what you want at least, right? Like we can't just randomly make up a worksheet for you. So we would need to know like at least the title of it or what the idea behind it is.
Yeah. And that'd be the point of this.
That part stop you.
Well, and that's the beauty of this.
So think about it.
This would show you how to make that worksheet and to get titles.
Right.
Right.
Right. Well, so you could do that if you want it. Yeah.
Sure, we can take gratitude week 9.
Yeah, and Deb, what'd you have?
So I was going to say, I've already started that. So
great.
I'm working in Canva with the PDF worksheet that we were talking about, tips and tricks for the help. And then mindset, I already posted what I did with Chat GPT with mindset. I don't know if anybody saw that. And I am really, so I've already kind of started with all that. Of course, I need more information, but I'm really lost with how to get to you guys. Like today, thank you, Andrea, for sending me the link, but where am I supposed to be? Because last week was very intense. So I'm getting my brain back. But
well, where are you going now? Like, what's your process?
So I went to TLO, Mastermind, and General. And I said, hey, this is where is this where I'm supposed to be? And then Sue said, are you in? And I was like, I can't find you guys. And then Andrea sent me a link.
So we meet on the Yeah, so we always meet on the Zoom on these calls. The Zoom link is not in there. It's on.
Nope, it's not, but we're gonna
Add it
change
right
that
now.
right now.
Yeah, because I
Yeah,
get
so
really
I'll-
lost
Are you gonna do
and
it,
I have
John?
my pen and paper and I can write it down. So next time, I'm not like, hey, help, help.
And where did you just put the Zoom link?
In the TLO Mastermind General tab.
Okay,
Okay,
Okay.
that's where I've been going. So that link is always going to be there
Yes.
and it's always the same link. Okay. See, I need to learn about Zoom too. So, okay, moving right along.
So just, well, so the thing is. We
Nope. we lost her.
That kind of reminds, yeah, that reminds me of a movie.
I'm sure it was an awesome thought.
Yeah, yeah. It
So can
was,
I tell, so while we're waiting for Andrea, can I tell you a story? I
Sure.
was at Wealth Mastery Leadership with Tony Robbins all last week. And the first day was nothing but technical problems.
Really?
And, I mean, it was like, and it was just one speaker and she would talk and then it would freeze. And so I'm just like, okay, this is going to happen to us. What is our recourse?
well,
I said-
we've already kind of talked about that.
Okay,
So we've got to look to minimize and mitigate and eliminate. Those are the three things. So we can mitigate by pre-recording our classes.
okay.
So part of what you're doing with the mindset is great, but the next step will be, okay, let's get together with everyone in that group. And what's our hour format? Like if we had an itinerary for an hour, how is that hour going to break down? And what are we doing, right? And so basically there's like, ideally we would do this live or close to live the first time, and then we record everything, and then we get to take snippets of these recordings and or take the full recordings and use them in future courses and chop them up to use them as social media, right? There's some new technology that's coming out that makes that stuff really easy. And with
I heard about your dinosaur,
my
your dinosaur in
oh,
a suit.
Your pterodactyl or whatever it is sitting at the
Yeah.
desk. I told her about that
he is,
yesterday.
since he that is a velociraptor. And
Oh,
since
okay.
and since it's the joke, like I teach a flexible life optimization success system to floss, then it's a flossiraptor.
But it is
Yeah,
not.
so the characteristics of a flossiraptor is like
Okay.
a velociraptor: agile, proactive, communal, works together.
Got
like
it, got
so,
it.
and look, it's all just part of the idea is just to kind of have a little shtick and some branding. You know what I mean? Like, because at the end of the day, I hate it because I keep hearing this stupid Burger King jingle, you know, BK, have it your way. And I'll find myself singing this shit in the middle of whatever stuff. And I'm like, dude, they got me. God, they got me. And so it's just one of those things where, and it's not like you love it or you hate it. It's just the
It's
hook
just stuck.
continue. So yeah,
just
and
gotta realize how
it's
bad
the
that
idea
shit
that
is.
repetition is the mother of skill there. So
Right.
So
Okay,
should
Sean,
I put in the Oscar Mayer wiener and everybody's
no,
like,
no,
now you're
no,
all
no.
gonna
No.
remember it.
that's
Please
now the
don't.
principal bill.
No, please
No,
stop.
no. The death
Please.
bomb of all, the Barney song.
Oh,
No.
I love you. You
No,
love me.
I don't know that one, so
We're
I'm
a
okay.
happy
Okay, I have one.
family.
I have one.
Now, anyway. Kurt says the Barney song, and Jeff's the only one who busts out into song. So
Actually, the Barney song I learned was "I hate you, you hate me. We're a dysfunctional family.
Oh,
Shot
there are
to the
some
head
bad
and
ones
another
out
to the
there.
groin."
yeah.
Well, after Tony Robbins, all I hear is life will never be the same, and I can't get it out of my brain.
Okay.
That's
Well,
good.
if it makes you
lady
feel
ain't
better,
both the same.
years ago, I was helping with setup and technical crew putting on some events. You know, like 2,000-3,000 people, and typically it was 10 to 15 minutes before we started the function when we got everything working. I remember one time, 8 minutes before the doors open, soldering a microphone to get it back to function. But it's like we had all kinds of problems. I mean, it's older technology, setting up light valves and stuff instead of, you know, projectors and things. But but if it was crazy how 5 o'clock in the morning, you know, we'd be up all night and then get back up at 5 o'clock in the morning trying to work out the bugs that we couldn't get the night before because we needed about 2-3 hours sleep. And it would be 9:45. It's like, okay, let's test it one more time because the doors open at 10, and it's like sometimes it was working at 9:45, sometimes it was 9:50, but
Yeah.
we always got it going when the doors opened.
Well, and the good news is because of the environment we're working in, I think people are much more willing to accept technical issues and just kind of take a breath and understand that's part of the process. But we can minimize, and these are things we can talk about too. I would say, let's file this for later, like just in the back of your head. Think of like Jeff, when you're attending a lot of these kind of online events.
Yeah, I want to interrupt.
Yeah, take notes of some of the difficulties and technical issues they're having, because those can help us inform our processes moving forward as well. So
No, we'll figure it out on the fly. It's not going to be that big a deal. That's just you have backup devices. You know, it's that I've got
and they
two
generally have
iPad
somebody.
Pros and a laptop. You
Yeah,
know, it's like
And
They
Deb, it
generally
did
have
happen
somebody.
on the one with Matthew also.
Oh, yeah, yeah, I
Yeah,
remember that.
yeah. I joined in with the people with their dogs
I don't blame you.
for the blind.
I bet they're much more well-behaved.
Okay,
You know,
listen,
I have to get this off my chest. The people I know are going to be very, very dedicated, and they're going to be wanting to do this, but some of them are like me and on a fixed income. And it wasn't easy for me to come up with that money for Tony Robbins.
Right.
When you say 10,000, I'm thinking, I don't think I'd say too much to the people I'm talking to.
But now you have to qualify those people. They qualified us.
But
And even still, I didn't have that money and I didn't even manage to pay it all. So maybe they didn't do the best job qualifying me, but they qualified me that I wanted it, that I was
yeah,
knowledgeable enough, but you know, still at
And
the
a
end
lot
of the day,
I guess
it
it
does
just
require
bothers me
a
that,
phone call.
you know, yeah, because even the first class I took wasn't 10,000, with Tony Robbins. But what I'm thinking is, are we limiting it? I mean, I don't mean to go down a lot, but 10,000 just sounds like a lot to me. If I'm
Yeah.
putting it on and I wouldn't take it.
So
I
Faye,
am.
that's first of all, that's our high ticket offer. And
Right. I
you know,
realize.
we will have other options, but
Right.
if you recall, Randall actually addressed that with us and he told us several times, it's not our responsibility to determine whether they could come up with the money or not. It's our responsibility to give them other options if they can't. So in other words, we
That's a
have our
good
high
point.
ticket offer, but we also have a lot of
Yeah, I just know a lot of people that would really do well in it and would
well,
bring a
listen,
lot to
hey,
us, but wouldn't be
okay,
able to afford it.
things. Let me just a couple things I want to throw out at you. One, I would recommend that you look at this journey we're doing together as a rainbow. Okay, meaning there's a spectrum, and what you're teaching is just one line in that rainbow. And so
Right.
it's not specific to your particular audience. It's going to be a broad range. So that's
Right.
number one.
All of our audiences.
Number two, Faith, there's nothing saying that you can't give this stuff for free to your people if you want to. They may not be able to come in and do the weeks with us, but some of these other materials, if you want to do pro bono work or give it away or whatever the case may be, like I don't get, there's this misconception that the pond is too small, and it's not, right? We're basically talking about space.
Right.
Okay. And so we can go to the same house, and on one side of the house can be the bougies with all their rich highfalutin stuff going on that's willing to pay us 10 grand because they're dealing with an existential crisis of a chipped nail. All right. And then on the other side of it, though, you could have people on the other end of it who don't have those financial means, who are looking to make changes in their life because they have some other issues going on. And my whole point, it's a little snarky to say that about that high end side, but my point being is, we don't want to fall into the fallacy of believing we know what's in the other people's head.
Right.
We don't know what they're dealing with. We don't know what motivates them in
Right,
that
right,
context, right? And so the challenge with it is, you have to remember, like, I put it in the text, the difference between a million and a billion and a trillion. And the
Yeah, you
distinction
did.
here is money is a zero-sum game. There is plenty of money out there. There's
Right.
just plenty of it. We
It's
just,
everywhere.
we're looking in,
We're brainwashed.
we're trying to market to a certain demographic, psychographic, whatever term you want to use, because they're willing to pay for it at that time. But there's nothing to say, like, for example, say we did this course, 12-week course, it's a rousing success. We get 30 people in it. They'll do really well. There's nothing saying that we can't do the same thing next year where we have another course at the end of the year, but we could run that exact same course at the beginning of the year and make it free for those who don't have the means to pay for it if we wanted to. Like, there's so many different permutations and different ways that we can structure this and do this that I wouldn't get caught up on that right now. The idea now is just getting on the wave, getting that momentum, and then we can adjust that as we go through and figure
Yeah,
it
I
in.
think what was hanging me up on it was, since I'm already doing the chats and the reels, you said I kind of throw that in. Well, I wouldn't mind doing that on the free. Then it's up to them if they want to pay it or not. But I don't want to think I was doing all this just to lead up to it.
Well, here's my question to you.
Be with you.
If you say you did a reel and you said, hey, listen, this is a little off topic, but me and a group of like-minded individuals are deciding to put together a life optimization program of some sort, right? An Elevate program. And while I cover portions of what I do in the course, there's a myriad of other things that are in there. I invite you to check it out. If you feel like you're doing that, do you feel like you are scamming or spamming your clients? Because, like, at what point do they have the personal agency for themselves to go take a look at it and to make the decision if they want? Like, if people are going to whine to you about the price, the challenge with it is whether it's $5, 500, or 5,000, they're gonna whine. Because
I'm not saying we're not worth it. I'm just saying that I think there's a group of people that we're missing if we start too high.
Well, that's okay though, because that group of people is in
definitely
the
why.
billions.
You say we
Yeah,
can get
that's
30
the goal.
if we don't get any
And in fact,
then we'll put it down a little lower.
and in fact, I would even go this far. In fact, isn't this the big conundrum we're all facing? Like, all of us have so much we want to teach, and the whole message from Randall was stop trying to do it all. Find the one issue, focus on that first. Find the one client, focus on that first. And then when you get that, then we can grow out. And so while you're right, we may be missing out on a certain demographic. If we did this right, if we had this high ticket offer and we deconstruct it into, say, a self-paced course, right? That we sell for $500. It gives you all the same stuff. You can have all the same videos. You can have everything, but it's self-paced. That would be an option we can look at down the road. Right now, though, we're in the construction phase of our high ticket offer. And so, and the reason why I'm bringing it up a little bit is because this is like the third or fourth time you've brought this up in these meetings. So obviously there's something that's hooking you and keeping you into that mindset. And
I have several people that have asked me about it, and I have steered clear of saying, I just told them the first one would be free.
Okay, so
Our challenge is free.
Yeah.
You can always say, you can always just be truthful too. Hey, listen, you know what? This is a new process for me. I'm learning all these things from people who know a little bit more than I, and I don't want to give you any misinformation, right? All I can tell you is my own.
And you know what, Faye?
I've learned a lot.
And remember, I mean, there's always going to be people who don't have the same vision or the same understanding or the same training or the same background that we all do. And so there's going to be people who are going to scoff at that price, but that's their situation.
you could always offer something lower for,
well,
it doesn't involve your time for
I could
$297.
take it and make a class out of maybe something that I didn't cover in here and somebody else did.
Right. But also remember, and Barry says this all the time, when people pay, they pay attention. So when we offer somebody for $97, do you think they're going to put the same amount of effort into it if they've paid 97 versus paying 10,000? Probably not.
Yeah,
In fact, some people, a lot of people won't even show
there.
up for the $97 one, So it's not, so we will have other options for people as well, as Sean has mentioned, but this is our core program. And this is what,
Okay.
yeah, what we're spending the most time on. Because once you have the core, then you can break it down, like he said. into
Everything is a
other-
derivative of that.
Right, right.
That's the
But,
beauty of it.
and there are people who are going to want to pay that because they want to be handheld. They need that. And there are going to be people who aren't going to want to do that. And that's fine. There'll be other options for them too. And some of those options may just be free and they may get plenty out of that. But if we don't offer something for the people who want more and want to pay more because they want to be handheld, then we're losing that group.
Mhm.
The other thing is people will treat stuff differently and they will pay for what they place value on. You know, you can talk about, well, oh, I don't know, that's $100, that's $1,000. How many of those same people bitching about money have $1,000 cell phone? Because they put value on it. You know, when I see guys holding the "will work for food" signs and they've got cell phones, don't ever come to me asking for help, because you show me where your value is. If they want something bad enough, they will find it. People put resources where they perceive value. So,
Yeah,
you know,
that's all. Yeah.
the question is, are you providing enough value to be worth the compensation? If you're providing this value for the compensation, then it's up to them to decide if it's worth it to them to, you know, buy the course or not,
Right.
buy the program.
Right, this is a money mindset thing. You're assuming everybody's broke, for
Mm,
one.
Good point.
I'm not looking for the
Okay.
98%. I'm looking for the 2.
And then for two, let's see, I pay for events and then I attend free ones. I'll pay for what I want to be with a person, so I would pay more to be live with you versus the free one, which I still recently, the only free ones I attend are live ones too, because if I'm not actually in the room with you,
Right.
it's not moving me forward.
By the
Watching
way,
videos, I mean, but watching videos are good. So this morning I attended, it was 2 hours. These are two people who I guess they're licensed by Grant Cardone, but you know, all Grant's people would just kind of break off and they were teaching money mindset, I believe, for 2 hours. They had a slide presentation and they talked for 2 hours. There was only like 9 people on the Zoom call. So not any really bigger than us. But I mean, they still did it as if, you know, you were talking to everybody, because, you know, actually I knew all that content. I was just there because I wanted to be in a room with the people who are going to invite me to go to Dubai. Hello. So they offered to spend a month with them, $297. And I think they offered that maybe in the second half, because they took like 2 5-minute breaks, and they had questionnaires. Here, answer these questions. It's kind of an example similar to what we're kind of talking about, because they said for $297 you could spend, I think it was twice a week with them, and then get little tidbits from them daily.
This is the challenge, right? Look, the reality of it is we need to decide what our construct is. People
Right.
will pay for what, like this is we have to get rid of the old 20th century mentality of advertising and marketing.
I'm on the 10 grand part.
We're not putting up big billboards hoping that people drive by and see us and call. We are just putting out what we have and what we want, and we're attracting those who are attracted to it, because that's how vast this is. And the other thing is, and I'm so happy I get to use this word in actual context and not as example, but I do not want to Floxanayapilificate the situation here. Okay.
What? Say it again.
Floxanayapilificate. It means to devalue. The other challenge is if we lower our prices, we devalue the perceived value of our product.
Yep.
Right.
And we don't want to do that either, because there's a lot of value in this group right here.
I think my hang up is I don't want to be the one that's saying, telling them, you know, pitching the offer, because I can.
Well, here's the deal. Here's the deal. You won't be, I mean, you're going to be one of the people pitching the offer, because we're going to all have to be pitching the offer. In fact, that's one of the things we want to do this week is one of the things we need to do this week is we're all going to break off. So what I say is this next hour, half hour, I'm going to go in, I'm going to hit the pause, I'm going to restart it, and I'm going to show you how to make a lesson plan out of these topics that you guys are doing. Deb, this might just be review for you. This might be just some, oh, hey, I missed that, I should try that. Maybe just some new ideas, whatever the case may be. Also give your 2 cents. Since you've walked through this process before, I'd love to know what you've done and what you received and got out of it, right? But the other thing we need to do here is we also need to identify what our challenge is going to be. Not everyone needs to do the challenge. Please hear me on this. We don't need 8 people, 7 people on it at one time, but we probably need to come up with, okay, these are the 3 people who are going to do the challenge. This is what we're going to do in the challenge. And then we need to create a social media marketing campaign around that challenge. Like, okay, hey, Sean, you, Jeff, and Andrea, like I could, let's just keep it simple. Sean, Kurt, and Andrea, right down the middle. You 3 are handling the building of the challenge, getting the challenge done, and we'll be doing it. You 4 on the sides, you guys are doing the social media, which means every day post at least 1 post about this challenge, right? All these things. And we're not gonna, like, we need to come up with a plan to do that. I'm still looking at MailChimp. I haven't had the chance to get into it like I need to, but that's got to happen this week because that's our funnel page. That's where everybody's gonna need to go. All right. And so I'll take a look at that and see what the deal is, and probably make a recording on that too, if I can figure out a good way to do it, because that's something you're all going to need in your own personal courses. Right. So, does that?
Yeah. Sue, does that come along with what we were talking about the
Yes.
3?
Yeah, that answers some of the questions that we had. Yes.
Okay. Does that help? Right. And so.
Did it answer all of your questions though, Faye? They have answered my question.
Well, we had talked at one time, do we want to try and cover it all, or do we want to try or at least let them know what's coming?
Well, and no, I
Let 'em
think
know what's
what has
coming.
happened now is
Slap.
that they will put it together of what they think is the best, and then we will work with them. So yeah, we've kind of gone off of what we were doing before. And I think what they're suggesting now is the right way to go. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so we're okay. All right.
Yeah. Yep.
And here's something else to consider when you're doing your weeks. Okay. Like if you feel like you're like, so say you have a list of 5 topics you guys, want to cover in that particular arena, whether it's obstacles, mindset, or whatever. But realistically, you're only going to have time to cover 2 in the week. Okay. Those other 3, we can put those in the workbook that is given to them that week, and they can still work on it. We can just say, hey, we're going to cover, these 2 we've deemed as the most important. And the worksheet we're going to do is focused on these 2, but there's still additional tools in here for you to be able to use on overcoming obstacles, right? Because we're not blind. We understand that everyone has their own different way. We lived some life. We have some life experience. We're going to show you what's worked for us, but we've given you some additional tools that you can also use on your own to see what's effective for you. Like that's another way to do it too, because each week is such a huge, we could take each week in our course and we can make a 12-week program out of each week of our course if we so wanted to, right? That's
Right.
not the game here. So we're looking at it in the terms of the layers. Like that's why I'm saying, hey, go look at that smattering of all the topics, identify what the most important ones are for you individually, because that's what gives it your flavor. Faye's going to look at that list of overcoming obstacles, and she's going to have a different top 3 than you may have, Sue or Kurt or Deb. And you guys will get together and say, hey, these are the absolute 8 things we want to make sure are covered. Okay, well, those will be in the workbook. What are the 2 things you want to cover in the week? Like when you actually come and talk, and you're going to be on video and we're going to be working with people. All right. And so if you can chunk it down that way, it's going to make it a lot more manageable. Okay. And so, and what's great about it is once it's all done, the next time we run the program, you could go back and say, you know what, we did these 2 last time, and I don't know, it was okay. Let's try something different. And we can just go back to the work, the bank, and pull something different. And we're not always recreating the wheel. That's one of the reasons why we're trying to get this all structured up front, so that we can kind of do plug and play. I mean, that's the 21st century mantra, right? I should be able to unplug something and then plug something new in, and it should work. That's the expectation of today. Okay. All right. And so if we're good with that, let me go ahead and why don't we jump into this? I'll show you the lesson plan. I'll try to do it in like 30 minutes because it doesn't need to be all that long. All right. And then when we're done, I'll upload it to YouTube. I'll give it and I'll put it each in your own individuals. Deb, I'll do that with you, and I'll even send you this Zoom link to you personally, right? Because here's the other thing. There can be one spot where you can go, but there can be 87 spots that can get you to the same. There's so many different ways to get to the same destination. Don't get caught up on like, I have to do it this way. I have to do it this way. It can be a nice balance, right?
Hey, Sean, what I noticed is that, so I had actually pinned the Zoom link into the mastermind main, the general group, and it doesn't seem to be pinned.
Is it because the view?
Yeah, that's where I was
Well,
looking for it and I couldn't
And I
find
think I
it.
had done it before. No, there's other pins. There's like 3 other pins, but this one is not pinning for some reason. So I don't know. if maybe
Interesting.
somebody else-
Uh,
Yeah, so I don't know if someone else needs to try it or.
I'd seen, you know what, and you know what, I'm gonna do some research into that, because I put it in there in
Yeah.
general and pinned it, and it's pinned on mine.
Yeah, and I did too, like a week ago, I thought, and I don't see it now, so I don't know. But I go.
Now,
to
with that being
message
said,
And I click on it and it asks me if I want to unpin.
Pinned on
So
mine.
it was obviously pinned, but I don't see it in the pinned area, so I don't know. So you guys, I always just go to the Phoenix Rising one because it is pinned in there. That's just what I do. 'cause
That's okay.
Yeah, so.
I
anyway.
mean, and let's be honest, what's been the worst thing that's happened? We've had to wait 30 seconds while someone copies
Exactly.
the link. I mean, right, we're not, by the way, we're not talking Oppenheimer here, which I am actually very interested in seeing. So
What?
Deb said they filmed it in her hometown. So down in, was it Los Gatos in New Mexico?
Filmed what?
Oppenheimer.
It's Los Alamos, New Mexico.
Or
It's
Los
a
I know
Alamos,
movie-
somebody with that
It's a
last
Oh,
movie
Los
name.
Gatos,
about-
California, huh?
It's a
Yeah.
movie that's coming out about Oppenheimer and what he did, atomic bomb and stuff, yeah.
About who?
I
Oppenheimer.
can't think of his first name. Oppenheimer, he's the one who created what is it? Robert J.
Batman and little
Oppenheimer.
boy. He's the one who created the nuclear weapon, the
My
nuclear bombs.
18-year-old son. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Anyway.
cool. So did you want to stop this recording and then?
Yep, here we go.
re-record? Okay.